The Magic of Santa Claus, told by art through the ages, presented by Curiosity Odyssey. So we're diving into the origins of Santa Claus, and St. Nicholas is the guy to start with. Born in 280 AD near Myra in Lycia, he was a Greek Christian bishop known for his incredible generosity and kindness. He was big on helping out kids and those less fortunate, and his secret gift-giving gigs, like putting coins in people's shoes, basically laid the foundation for the whole Santa Claus story. Alright, let's explore how St. Nicholas was quite different from our typical Santa Claus images from the 1300s, like the one we just saw. Anthropologist Caroline Wilkinson, along with a team of trailblazers at Manchester University, were able to create this computer-generated image based off St. Nicholas's actual remains that were exhumed in the late 20th century. He likely had olive skin, dark brown eyes, he stood at about 5 feet 6 inches tall, and had very distinctive facial features. Science tells us that he did have white hair and a beard, conforming to the fashion of that time, but we also found out he had a broken nose, leading us to believe that not only was Santa a giver, but maybe a fighter as well. Let's fast forward a couple of centuries and switch gears to Odin, a big shot in Norse mythology. Odin was a major player in the Viking gods worshipped by Germanic peoples. Odin is depicted here on the Gangvide image stone as the figure riding the 8-legged horse. Why are we talking about Odin, you ask? Well, because here's where it gets really interesting. The parallels between Odin and Santa Claus are undeniable. There is a historical thread linking the two, and honestly, it's pretty fascinating. First up, check this out. Odin had a spy network going on with his ravens. Legend has it they'd listen at chimneys to figure out who's been good or bad. Now think about Santa Claus. He's all about chimneys too, sliding down them to deliver those festive gifts. And hey, speaking of being good or bad, Santa's got that list and he's checked it twice to see who's been naughty or nice. Seems like Odin's idea of chimney surveillance may have rubbed off on jolly old St.Nick. It doesn't end there. In the Odin era, during the holiday festivities, Odin himself led a celestial hunting party riding his 8-legged horse. Kids would leave boots by the chimney loaded with offerings for his horse and Odin. In return, they would drop off gifts or candy. We have two parallels here. Today's children hang stockings by the chimney and Santa fills them up with presents. Also, modern-day children leave treats out for Santa and his reindeer exactly how they did for Odin and his horse. Now let's connect the dots between Santa's reindeer and Odin's horse. Odin was widely known for his 8-legged wonder horse, making impressive leaps during festive times. Now switch to Santa Claus, often seen cruising in a sleigh pulled by reindeer. It's like Santa's ride has a bit of Odin's flair. Let's fast forward to the 15th century, where the earliest personifications of Christmas in England start to emerge. The illustration here from Josiah King's The Examination of Trial of Father Christmas from 1686. Here we begin to see nods to the familiar character. Okay, and now it's time to time travel to the 16th century and meet Sinterklaas. In the Dutch version of St. Nicholas, Sinterklaas, he's reimagined with a staff riding a grand white horse and has these mischievous helpers eavesdropping at chimneys. This is all starting to sound a little familiar, isn't it? Check out one of the earliest depictions of Sinterklaas by Simon Andreas Krauss. It is a glimpse into the early stages of shaping the Santa Claus we know today. Let's jump to the 1800s, where we see the evolution of Sinterklaas, the Dutch Santa making his way to America. Dutch cultural influence, including the traditions of Sinterklaas, laid the foundation for the development of the Americanized Santa Claus. The Dutch are also credited with introducing the world to Belsnickel, or Kris Kringle. Belsnickel roams the countryside ringing a bell, handing out small gifts to good kids and disciplining the mischievous ones. This tradition echoes the German Christmas custom where the Christkindl or angel visits children, giving them gifts during the festive season. Unfortunately, the artists behind this tradition remain unknown, but their influence is unmistakable. Still in the 1820s, Minister Clement Clarke Moore writes a poem titled An Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas, or more commonly known as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. This poem, published anonymously in 1823, becomes a sensation, laying the groundwork for the American Santa Claus. The concept of 8 tiny reindeer from this poem becomes an enduring and iconic element of the Santa Claus legend. Moore publicly claimed authorship of the poem in 1837, solidifying his place in shaping the modern image of Santa Claus. Here we're looking at an image of the original poem in Clarke Moore's handwriting. Jumping now to the 1840s, major publications start featuring dedicated sections for holiday shopping ads. Images of a hefty man with a beard and delivering toys are very akin to Moore's poem, becoming predominant in these early advertisements. In 1843, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol hit the shelves, creating a significant cultural impact. John Leech's illustration of the Ghost of Christmas Present from the novel, although not explicitly labeled as Father Christmas or Santa, features the character with a holly wreath surrounded by food, drink, and a vessel bowl. The imagery contributes to the evolving imagery. Zooming to the 1860s now, we see the Santa we know today really starting to take shape, and no, this is not a picture of Santa. This is a picture of the artist Thomas Nast. Nast was the first great American political cartoonist, and he is the one credited with crafting the enduring image of Santa Claus we all know today and recognize. He drew inspiration from Clement Moore's poem, The Night Before Christmas. In 1963, Thomas Nast crafted the first authoritative image of Santa Claus, debuting in Harper's Weekly magazine. This image here is an original leaf from the 1865 Harper's Weekly, presenting a portrait now recognized as Santa Claus, accompanied by the caption, "A Merry Christmas to All." And this is another one of Nast's illustrations titled Merry Old Santa Claus from 1881. Now it looks very familiar, right? Zooming ahead to the 1890s, we witness a new era with the emergence of films featuring Santa Claus. The first production, Santa Claus, from 1898 was a British short silent drama capturing Santa's visit to a house on Christmas Eve. As we step into the 1900s, a distinctive shift in portraying Santa Claus emerges in an illustration by Frank A. Necavell for Puck magazine. Unlike earlier images of Santa, this image goes beyond the traditional and begins to add nuanced features to Santa's character, contributing to a more detailed and unique representation. In the 1920s, Santa was becoming a popular figure in ads for diverse products. 2 examples of Norman Rockwell's Santa-themed covers from the Saturday Evening Post in 1920 and 1922 showcase a departure from cartoonish features, giving a more human and naturalistic aspect to Santa. In 1931, Coca-Cola launched a campaign to depict Santa Claus in their ads, seeking a wholesome and symbolic portrayal. The Darcy Advertising Agency, in collaboration with Coca-Cola, brought in Michigan-born illustrator Haddon Sundblom for the task. This partnership marked the beginning of iconic Santa images associated with Coca-Cola during the holiday season, solidifying the brand's connection with the festive figure. Drawing inspiration from Clement Clarke Moore's 1822 poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," illustrator Haddon Sundblom crafted a warm, friendly, and human Santa in stark contrast to the conventional perception of a man dressed as Santa. Initially using a live model, Haddon Sundblom later painted himself and turned to photographs to capture the image of St. Nick for Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola Santa, featured predominantly in the Saturday Evening Post and other magazines, became immensely popular. Fans scrutinized the details of Santa, even writing in letters about changes in Santa's belt orientation or the absence of a wedding ring, sparking inquiries about Mrs. Claus. The children accompanying Santa were modeled after Sundblom's neighbors. Here we see more of Sundblom's images from the 1930s. Jumping to the 1940s now, Santa Claus depictions underwent a transformation again, this time influenced by World War II. Illustrators and advertisers in the United States adapted Santa's image to align with the wartime spirit, emphasizing themes of patriotism and solidarity to boost morale. In 1948, artist Salvador Dali ventured into an unconventional realm by painting Santa Claus bursting from a snowy landscape. Drawers protrude from Santa's belly, containing Dali's signature melting clocks and a small white bunny. This work was commissioned by Hallmark, the world's largest greeting card company. This greeting card was meant for the public but proved too avant-garde for mainstream appeal, and the cards were never sold. In the 1980s, Andy Warhol, a leading figure in pop art movement, introduced a unique take on Santa Claus. Warhol's coveted 1981 Myths portfolio was a sought-after print series featuring 10 silkscreens capturing fictional characters that were important to American culture, from Superman to, of course, Santa Claus. Over the last 30 years, Santas of various backgrounds and ethnicities are becoming more common, reflecting the country's diversity. Now, children from various backgrounds and cultures can find representation and connect with the magic of Santa Claus, fostering a shared sense of joy and celebration during the festive season. Santa Claus embracing inclusivity reflects the evolving nature of holiday traditions and contributes to a more representative and diverse cultural narrative. In the early 2000s, artist Ed Wheeler introduced a modern twist to Santa's likeness through his series called Santa Classics. Wheeler's reimaginings pay homage to the original paintings while injecting a contemporary flair, providing art lovers with a delightful reason to smile and enjoy the fusion of traditional art and modern Santa. Our journey through Santa Claus's visual history unveils centuries of cultural evolution, mythic tales, and artistic interpretations. From Odin's mystique to Coca-Cola's heartwarming portrayals, Santa's evolution reflects the enduring power of human imagination and the universal desire for festive magic.